Today on Locked On Rockies, the score, not so close, but the hit count, only one more hit for the Phillies yesterday. The big difference, and one of the things that has been a curse for the Colorado Rockies all season long, the defensive miscues and errors simply continue to be unacceptable.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 22nd day of May in the year 2025. I'm your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. If your team is the Colorado Rockies, guess what? You are in the right spot, because that's what we do around here each and every day, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. If your team is the Colorado Rockies, thank you again for tuning in and making us your first listen for the day. Sorry, I'm pulling up some stuff that's going to be, unfortunately, stuff that's going to be tough. That's going to be very difficult for us. Why is this so hard to find? Regardless, we're going to dive in. We're going to be talking the wonderful world of Rockies baseball today, rehashing and getting us ready to go for the big old game today. But I'm trying to find the important thing that I want, and I just did. Okay, so yesterday's game, the Rockies, hey, 5 runs, a little bit of offense. That's okay. We like it. All Beck, Goodman, and Tovar, all with multiple hits in that game yesterday. Nick Martini putting the ball over the wall, including almost 2 home runs there with some late stuff. A little late heroics. Got some runs scored in the 9th. Always fun to see when you can, get a little bit of a pulse going here. But I wanted to bring up something, and I wanted to talk about why I don't know if this relates to keeping Bud Black and things like that, but the amount of errors folks, they have they've played nearly 50 games. They'll be playing their 50th game today. They have 43 errors on the season. The Rockies are almost averaging an error per game. And then mixed in with this, I'm on teamrankings.com here. In this series against the Phillies, the Rockies are averaging 1.67 errors a game. It doesn't matter what your roster construction is. It doesn't matter what your record is. It doesn't matter who you are. If you think you're going to have a chance in a series when you're throwing the ball around, when you can't play the fundamentals, when you can't make the basic plays, when you can't do the small things, when you can't do the little things, and when you have failed in an area that is supposed to be one of your team's biggest strengths, and arguably its only strength, there needs to be repercussions for this. And I don't know, maybe I think maybe I'm put this in the overreaction, hyperbolic chamber of me just pulling something out of my butt here. But I think that all of this, I think the mental state of the Rockies, I think not only has it been beat down by this and how the season started and early injuries and some of the stuff that the Rockies have dealt with, but you built this situation because you stuck with your traditional status quo. You went through an offseason, and your players in your organization saw, the ones that didn't sign and that aren't new, well, they saw that it's going to be more of the standard, more of this. And then as the season goes on and throughout the tenure of the last month of Bud Black and the last things there, they still were horrendous. So my point is, I think that the poor mental state of the Colorado Rockies was built long before this season started. And you can point to and say, well, the injuries, if they had, and I'll dive into this once Estrada actually reaches the lineup. If the Rockies were fully healthy, if they were this, they would be a different team, be a whole different situation. But that doesn't. There's something at its core to make it when you're young guys and when your guys are throwing the ball around, when you're not able to do the basics, and when you're not able to consistently play strong defense when you're supposed to be that, what happened? Was it the preparation and the way that Bud Black and his group was approaching the game and the prep for this? Why did it turn so sloppy? Has it just been because the mental side, or because it's gone so bad that it's completely impacted this? Because there's some moments where it looks like the Rockies have forgotten to play baseball. There's some moments that look like they're the and I'm allowed to throw this shot. They look like the Littleton Lions out there. I love me my Littleton Lions, but that's how we looked throwing the ball around. That's how we lost a lot of baseball games, and we were not a good baseball team, mind you. That's what adds extra frustration to this. Because listen, hey, the Phillies are a better team than the Colorado Rockies. Shocker, I know. Crazy, right? If Philly comes in here and they do what they've done, which is hit the ball very well, hit the ball out of the yard, and handle business, then you know what? That's fine. That's whatever. But to go and to kind of play some games in which, if you minimize these errors, if you minimize these mistakes, who knows what the score is? Who knows what those big innings turn into when you're not throwing the ball away, when you're not giving a team like the Phillies an extra chance to score? Because every single member of this lineup can do damage, especially at Coors. And you look yesterday, I mean, this wasn't a game where they were being they did strike out another 7 times and in bad situations. But if you can if you play Philly and you're averaging almost 2 errors a game, that's a huge problem. It isn't just roster construction there. That's performance. That's talent. That's when another, like, I mean, losing and everything is a frustration in a whole. But when the Rockies play games and they just implode, and there's no sort of bounce back, there's no sort of I don't know, like, this team is not able to handle the adversity that it's going through. It seems like it's just, well, what can we do? And the talent levels and experience are very different between these two teams. I understand that. But you're never going to beat anybody when you have 3 errors in a game. You're never going to beat anybody when you're averaging an error or more in a series. This is unacceptable. Every single one of these guys should be reevaluated. They need to get someone in this locker room, someone in this organization needs to start putting them in a spot where it's like, hey, it's bad. It's historically bad. But you need to have people in that locker room that are able to get these guys prepared and able to go out there and play ball like they know how and play ball like professional athletes. Because it's extra embarrassing when you can't throw the ball to get an out, when you throw the ball to second base instead of getting an easy out at first. And I know that Farmer is not usually the first baseman. I know that there's some mistake, that type of stuff. It adds that extra thing of just like, this isn't just being outmatched on paper in terms of talent and young guys versus seasoned vets. And again, this Phillies lineup is one of the best and most seasoned lineups in all of baseball. It just gets extra embarrassing when it's the Rockies in front of all the Phillies fans that are there, and already in this series being called a nice little home crowd. And then the Rockies proceed to throw the ball all over the place. Lack the ability to play clutch defense. That's what's so disheartening, I think, about it. It's not that it's the offense and the pitching has always been a thing, but for the defense to take this far of a step back is horrendous, is one of the worst developments of the season. The Rockies on defense were supposed to at least do that, and they've been dink-dunked with the inside things, but it doesn't matter. Folks, the Rockies have committed the most errors in baseball, only by 3 more. But they have committed more errors than any other team. They're going to play their 50th game this year, or today. They have 43 errors. That's almost an error per game. That's just plain unacceptable, man. right now, the Rockies have increased on their the errors, like the average errors per game. Their errors per game in 2024 was 0.51. They're at 0.86. 0.86 is the highest in baseball by a pretty decent margin. When you're looking at other teams and why they're going to be successful this season, why is St. Louis, hanging in there and having a good season? It's not just offense. They don't throw the ball around. They don't commit errors. Same with Texas. The Dodgers can't stop me here on this list of teams. Actually, here, I'll stop myself when I get to a possible non-playoff team. St. Louis, Texas, Dodgers, Kansas City, Philly, Seattle, Detroit, and then we hit Tampa Bay. 7 teams there, all sitting and hovering at errors per game under 0.5. And it takes until we get to Miami at number 16 to get to the first team that's at 0.5 in terms of errors. So Miami at 0.5. The Rockies are now, they have more that increases again. The only team in the 80s and the only team flirting with the 9s, which is almost a full error per game, is the Rockies. This is easily one of the biggest disappointments of the season. And I understand that Tovar's missed time. I understand that Doyle's missed time. I understand that they've gone, that they went young with Amador. But this is a team that has 3 Gold Glovers on. Well, 2 Gold Glovers and 1 that should be. And that's the status where we're at. And I know it's not just those guys. The other guys have been a big problem, but I mean, that is just one of those things where you just look and it's just one of those outlier stats that just completely just rattles your brain as a fan. All right. Let's keep talking. Let's keep breaking it down. Basically, at this point, there's really only one way through it, and that's to just keep going through it. We'll talk about that coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades. Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5. That's promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order at supplyhouse.com. Locked On Rockies here with you, folks, on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel and the Locked On Rockies podcast. Free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining us here on the Locked On Rockies podcast. We'll get to some comments here for from the Rockies fans coming up in just a little bit. But I'm curious, and I would love to hear Dick Monfort's thoughts on this, right? And this is a little out there because it's only one contract compared to multiple. So the Phillies, of course, have the second highest payroll in baseball right now, at least according to the active. This is the active list on sporttrack.com. So this is active payroll. There's some stuff there, because the Dodgers technically would be 1 in total payroll. Dodgers 1, Mets 2, Yankees 3, and then you get Phillies at 4 there. So technically, if you're going total overall payroll with everything all the stuff under the umbrella there, the Phillies actually would fall to 4. But in terms of active payroll, the Phillies are second. And hey, it's great. I mean, when you invest in your team and when you build a team and when you have something, that's awesome. But remember, the Rockies are a team that have beef with the fact that other teams are able to go out and sign players, more players, and bigger for bigger deals. I want to bring up two contracts. Actually, I'm going to bring up three contracts here for you from the Phillies, and I'm going to compare them to just one contract with the Rockies there. Kyle Schwarber this year, like we said, he signed a 4-year thing. He's averaging about $20 million a year, making $20 million this season. He's made $20 million on the payroll the last 2 years. Started his contract in 2022 at $19 million. Nick Castellanos also on a $20 million deal. JT Realmuto, $23,875. So yes, a lot of money, and there's multiple contracts there, right? So this comparison isn't necessarily, this isn't one for one, and it isn't going to just completely solve everything. But just for some context, there's some context here. Guess who's making more money than all of those guys? Guess who's been making more money than all of those guys on his contract and for more years than those guys? It's Kris Bryant. How are you going to be upset when a team can go out and sign these multi-year deals for less than what you're paying? All right, again, you add those three together, it's a lot more than what Kris Bryant is. But individually, if you have beef with teams being able to give these players contracts, why did you sign Kris Bryant for the deal that you did? Why are you okay with spending money on Kris Bryant and in that situation, but you're not okay with other teams going out and building and adding players and building their rosters with players like Schwarber, Castellanos, Realmuto? These guys that are all still making in the $20 millions, but they're not making 27, and they didn't get signed for 7 years. This is a moment, and this is a series in which Dick Monfort, you have no choice but to continue to look in the mirror. You can sit there and whine and complain about the fact that other teams spend money, or you can get off the duff and start realizing that you need to bring talent into this team because you are completely outmatched at every level. And it's going to be on display again when the Yankees come in, and it's going to be on display when all the NL West comes in. It isn't just about, these other teams are able to spend money. No. The other teams are better at talent evaluation than you and are willing to spend and invest in a team in order to create a successful team and in order to build that reputation. Instead, in the world of the Rockies, it's excuses, it's loopholes, it's looking for any possible reason for you to find, for it to be, it's unfair, it's this, it's that. No, this series and this season just prove that haven't proved, because it's already been proven. Highlight, underline, bold, that the Rockies organization is far behind multiple organizations. Not only just the best, but the middling and the bad teams. I bring that up because it's just, I just go back to in my brain, and it's been a lot of Rockies baseball and a lot of bad baseball, but like in my weird brain, I'm pretty sure there's a parallel universe in which JT Realmuto and Kyle Schwarber are Rockies legends. Helped the Rockies pairing with Nolan Arenado and Trevor Story and that pitching staff and making some adjustments there. And I understand the pitching staff has multiple members from it today, but rewind us to when those teams were there. In 2022, the Rockies could have brought Kyle Schwarber. I mean, again, these are all possible what ifs, but I'm just saying, instead of just hunting for the one big name, the one big fish, and hoping that you draft and develop everything around it, you have to be willing to build and invest in a roster for it to be successful. The top payrolls in baseball, just wait. Wait until I get to a non-playoff team when it comes to active and highest payrolls. And this is now, we're going in order of active, and I'm not going to say the money. This is just from the highest active payroll, and we're just going to go down the list until we find a non-playoff team here with the payroll. Mets, Phillies, Dodgers, Toronto, Yankees, Cubs, Red Sox, Rangers, Atlanta, San Francisco, Houston, San Diego, Arizona, and at 15th, we find our first probable non-playoff team of this year. And they were, again, a team that was supposed to be good and could potentially turn things around. All of those teams have payrolls and put themselves in a position. And everyone's going to say, well, only a certain amount of those teams are good. Are you counting out all of these other teams from making a possible run? Are you doubting the abilities of some of these teams that have proven themselves just because these high payroll teams at the top? No. I'm bringing this up because you have to spend money in order to be successful. And then here's the other thing too. Here's the kicker too. The Rockies are not even they're not even last place in terms of spending. They're 24th in terms of active payroll. I'm sorry, in terms of total payroll and active payroll. Active payroll, I think it's still there. Yeah, they're still 24th. There's some teams that are finding some success in the margin. Certainly, that's what they do. But at some point, you can't blame teams from adding talent when especially when you're the Rockies and you sit there and say, we're okay with throwing out a big contract like that. I don't know if I'm necessarily like putting it all together the way I want to. I just think it just reminds you that this is a team that isn't afraid to invest in players. They just haven't been able to invest in the right ones. But the comments from the summer are just really sticking in my brain, especially with how everything is panned out. Because how do you? It's an interest, and let's see. I think Raul brings this up yesterday here. It brings up an interesting point. What sort of free agents would sign and contribute to a rebuild and climb back to respectability? Dodgers cast off Chris Taylor, for an example. Dude played an important bench role with the team that won a title and knows how a contender prepares for big games. That would be a good, inexpensive piece to add to a rebuild. Yeah, the Rockies have to be looking at something in this offseason in terms of adding talent to this team. You can't sit there and say, we'll be good soon. We know what's coming up, what's in the pipeline is enough. It's not. The Rockies are showing right now that they are not on the same level as these teams. They are not able to compete. These guys are not on the same level as the Phillies, as the Dodgers, as the rest of your division. I mean, and I know those are the best examples, but they've been handled by other teams too. The Rangers swept the Rockies. The talent level is not on a place where you can just sit there and say, we will fix this through draft and develop. We will fix this through just our process, our philosophies. It ain't going to happen. The Rockies need to be willing to go out and add some talent to this team and reevaluate the talent that they have. The only way to get through this is to get through it. Every day they will play a game, and they will continue now as we are on a fast approaching another 8-game losing streak. Let's take a look and see where we're at as we're tracking our way to we're halfway there. Halfway to another 8-game losing streak. Now, the good news is the last time the Rockies were on a 4-game losing streak, they snapped it and were able to win. But will that change when it comes to the Phillies? I don't know. Let's see. What's the matchup today? Ranger Suarez versus German Marquez. Not liking the matchup here. And only 2 starts here, 17 innings pitched for Suarez. He has 17 strikeouts, 4 walks, and only allowed 1 home run. German, on the other hand, has 16 walks, 21 strikeouts, 4 home runs allowed in 40 innings, a whip of 1.83, and ERA of 8.78. God, that's so hard to read, man. Seeing guys that I really like on the Rockies, seeing guys that have had success, seeing guys that have contributed, and for it to be that level of bad, tough. All right, let's take a quick look at some YouTube comments. We'll wrap up the show for today, and we'll be rocking and rolling right here on the Locked On Rockies podcast. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. We're free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, bringing you daily Colorado Rockies talk here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you so much for tuning in, joining us, being my everydayers out there. We still got people tuning in, not only watching the Rockies, but watching the pod as well. Shout outs to you guys all as well. I wanted to bring up another comment here from Raul. We keep referring to all-time worst teams, and the thing that's starting to concern me is that those teams no longer exist. Colt 45, Spiders, Alleghenies, Boston Braves, Philadelphia Athletics. Could the best move for this franchise be relocation or relegation? Expansion teams fare better than this year's team. 15 wins by July seems like a tall order, if you ask me. Here's my main thing. I never want to lose the Colorado Rockies. I never want to experience what fans have experienced when their team leaves. And I don't think it's very likely the Rockies leave. I think there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that make it so they won't, no matter how bad they are. But there needs to be something. I mean, there was a tweet I saw from someone where it's basically like Rockies fans have to hope that Dick Monfort is reflecting on this, is actually learning from this, is actually realizing it and willing to admit that his process and how he's run things is not working. And that's the thing that's the worst part. And again, it's the sell the team stuff. I understand sell the team, and if he sold the team to another person, it could be certainly helpful. But if you do open up that wormhole of could be someone that doesn't want payroll, could be someone that wants to move. But in reality, I circle back to this. It's if Dick Monfort isn't going to sell the team, which is very unlikely that he does, he needs to step back from the baseball ops. He needs to just be like other owners and let the baseball people handle it. But no, I don't. For me, I don't want relocation. I don't want relegation. I don't want the Rockies to be a AAA team. That would suck. And to lose the Rockies would be horrible. As much as bad as they are, as frustrating as they make me, I can't get on board with that at all. That would break my heart. I'm not even kidding. RK says, my patience with Tolia is gone. Dude only has 6 homers through almost 2 months of baseball, and he strikes out 3 times almost every single game. He's obviously not the only problem on offense, but I can't stand watching him take at bats anymore. He should be hitting 8th or 9th at best. Can't be sitting at the 4-hole until he starts figuring out and developing the swing and the approach that he needs to. It's very frustrating watching Tolia right now. I will admit, as much as he's supposed to fill that strikeout type of thing, when you just get blown away on 3 pitches, when you're non-competitive on 3 pitches and you're in the 4-hole and there's runners in scoring position, it's flat out unacceptable. The amount of non-competitive at-bats, and it's not just Tolia, the amount of non-competitive at-bats the Rockies take when they have runners in scoring position, when they have situations in which they can get things going, is just flat out ridiculous. That with the errors and the strikeouts and the unproductive outs, oh my goodness. When you're talking about the quickest way to just make things an unpleasant viewing experience, when you're talking about a frustrating viewing experience, again, losing is one thing. But losing when you commit 3 errors and you strike out all the time in key situations, that's the punch in the gut. That's the extra, that's the one where instead of you're just taking your body blows, that's when they hit you in the kidney type of thing with that type of stuff. I do think Tolia, let's at this point we can ride it out and we'll see, because what do you have to lose? But it's just exhausting with that. RK says, I don't worry about Chase Dollander too much either, considering he's been our second best starter since Feltner got hurt. It'd be great to have Feltner back. Matt says, this dude needs a raise. Having to put out daily content regarding the Rockies. Thank you. I'll send it over to the bosses. Probably won't help, but thank you so much. I appreciate that, Matt. Sam says, my patience for Tolia and McMahon is running real low. Tonight, McMahon looked absolutely lost at the plate. In one at bat, he looked at 2 right down the middle and went fishing, swinging for 1 way out of the zone. You got to wonder where his head's at. My 2 questions are, do you think the Rockies invest much with sports psychology? Because just looking at Tolia and McMahon's body language at the plate, it appears they know they're going to strike out sometimes. 2, is there any alternative corner pieces on the farm or worth trading for? We got to do something. Our cleanup hitter can't be looking cooked after the first strike. There's no threat in our cleanup spot to the opposition at all. It's sad as a fan in the 9th inning when McMahon comes up. I already think, well, that's the game. I don't think that there's an immediate answer in the farm system. I don't think that there's a call up the Rockies will make and it's going to just set the world on fire in terms of the production they need. I think the big bat that the Rockies desperately need has to come through a free agent acquisition at the end of the year or a trade. I mean, they sat there and they were like, all right, here we go. We're going to set ourselves up for Chris Bryant again. And degenerative back disease is, again, no timetable for Bryant's to return. I mean, just put a fork in it. It's done. I don't think the solutions though are just a call up. I think calling players up to see why not. I mean, at this point, the Rockies are going to be a quadruple A team for the rest of the season. Give some guys some chances to improve, but I don't think that there's one that you can just pick up and say, here you go, you're going to replace Ryan McMahon or Michael Toglia and have have results really in general. I mean, I don't necessarily know there. As for the sports psychology, that's a great question. And I think it's certainly an area where if they don't invest, they should invest more. It's a huge part of the game. But it's a team that didn't really buy into analytics and stuff like that. Would they really be buying into, they probably have some stuff. They probably have some mental health professionals. We know mental health has become a big part of games and such. But I'm not sitting here holding my breath thinking that they're going to be, super high on doing these things here. On really investing in something like that. And let's see. Higgs says, I've been following your podcast since the Rockies played my Tigers a few weeks back. Hey, I feel sorry for you guys. Our franchise has been through hell and back, and I understand the sinking, gnawing feeling of watching your team get pummeled every series. Major League Baseball didn't do the Rockies any favors either. Your early schedule has been a death run. Statistically, the second hardest schedule in the league so far. Hang in there, Rockies fans. Thank you so much for checking in with us, bud. I appreciate that. It's always cool. I do appreciate when fans from other teams not only check out the show, but Tigers fans can relate. So I appreciate that you're keeping us going here and keeping the drum beat alive, helping us out, because it is true. There are teams that are being successful, highlighted by the Tigers right now, that have gone through some dark times and gone out the other side. So, like we said, only way through it is through it, folks. And that is going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. We're free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you again so much for making us that first listen. Go check out Locked On MLB or Locked On MLB Game Night for your second listen of the day. And of course, we got you covered with Locked On Broncos, Avalanche, Nuggets, and Buffs if you need more Colorado sports coverage. Until next time, I'm Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.